Dave Big Booty, I don't know what it is, or Dave Big Booty, I should say, but you managed to keep winning the internet every time. I don't know if it was you who put it together, but I saw somewhere during the time we were doing the Apollo 11 thing, it's a sign that said "Keep calm" and what is it again? Keep calm and set SCE to aux to auxiliary. That's that was the Apollo 12 instruction that kept that mission online. It's set SCE to aux. It's just awesome. So cool stuff. Great to be here. And let me just put the link into the Facebook section because I didn't do that yet. This one really snuck up on me, to be honest with you. I'm just sitting here like, oh my God, look at the time. So how's everybody doing? I hope everyone's doing well. It's good to be here. It's good to be anywhere really these days. Sitting about outside with my beautiful wife, thinking about that. What the chances of just living in this age, in this country at this time. It's just, when you think about the unlikelihood of it and how just unimaginably fortunate, that all of us are just to be Americans in the 21st century, and we lose track of that sometimes, and sometimes it does us a lot of good to remember that, because it's absolutely astonishing. You think about the conditions that just about everybody else in the history of the world has had to endure, and then we look at our lives, and like I say, people are throwing their soy lattes against the wall because life is a living hell. It's just a little strange. Anyway, as I say, it's good to be here. Looking at the comments live here. We have set a show topic for tonight on the Facebook page, and the show topic is backstage, behind the scenes. So I'm going to just be taking questions on things either behind the scenes here at BillWhittle.com, or to some degree what I may or may not know about behind the scenes for the entire conservative movement that I'm a part of, or whatever the case may be. I got a little distracted there. Eric saying, pray for us in Florida. My sister and my mom and my two brothers, my two nephews, all of them in Florida. So I know it's going to get rough down there, but we have... it's another thing about living in 2019. If you're gonna be in a disaster anywhere, being in the United States during 2019 is probably the place to be. If you're going to be in a disaster, and while I certainly hope that I'm not proven wrong by this, usually these hurricanes in Florida cause an awful lot of cosmetic damage, but hopefully nothing irreplaceable really, and that's lives. That's the only thing that really cannot be fixed by insurance companies and things like that. Some memorabilia, I guess, but that's trivial compared to people's lives. So I hope everybody's doing well down there, and take the advice of the authorities. That's not my usual card here, but I have ridden out two hurricanes, like had the eye go over me, but both times I was in Bermuda. And Bermuda is very rocky. It's got a strong reef around most of it. The houses there are built out of limestone, sturdy, and they are built for hurricanes. There's decorative shutters on every window in Bermuda, at least it was when I was there. You just simply close the wooden shutters and off you go. But Florida is particularly bad. I forget what the highest point in South Florida is, but I want to say it's about 7 feet above sea level, something like that. And things are very different down there. So if you get an evacuation order, I strongly recommend you take that advice. My sister was down there for, pretty sure it was Hurricane Andrew. Yeah. And she was living on Miami Beach at the time, and it looked like it was going to come ashore in Miami Beach. So she went she went down to get out of the way of it. She went down to some friends in Homestead, and that's exactly where it landed. And Andrew, the only thing I remember most about Andrew was that Andrew was not so much a hurricane as it was just a 30-mile wide tornado. It was just insane. I went back to Key Biscayne where I grew up, and this would be 3 or 4 years after Andrew. And I simply couldn't, I didn't know where I was. It's not like, hey, I don't recognize any of the landmarks. It's like, what street is this? Where am I? It just scoured the island just clean. And when you don't have trees and things like that for reference, it really mess you up. But anyway, we're all praying for you down there and pulling for you, and I'm sure everybody will come out of this just fine. Okay, so as I said, behind the scenes, that's the story for this evening. So let's have a look at what we got in the questions. This might be an interesting topic. Who knows? It might be a 2-episoder. All right, here we go. I'll just jump into it. Why don't we? I'll put the questions over here. I'm going to put the comment stream over there. And put the camera here. Yeah, all right. It's starting to look like a plan, and you're going to go down there. I have this absolutely incredible monitor here. I just love it. It's just absolutely insane. 4K monitor. It's huge, curved screen, and it looks, everybody comes into the office, they go, oh my God, that monitor. And I'm just like, well, it is, this is my, it's not just my workspace, it's my workspace. So anyway, it's got lots of real estate on it. So I'm just trying to get these comments back up. Okay, there we go. All right, starting to look a little better here. So let's see what we got cooking tonight. Hey, look at that. I'm just going to go down in the order in which I see them. Top fan, Dave Olson. Dave is just as regular as the sunrise, honestly. In all of your travels in punditry, in all of my travels, lo these many years, in all of your travels in punditry, you must have encountered some angels and some jerks. Who was the nicest person you ever met, and who was the most deserving of a punch to the yapper? Wow. That is a superb question. That really is. And I'm going to run away now. Okay, I'm back. Let's see. I don't know if I can really just completely narrow it down. I can. Usually, your first impulse is the right one. The person who struck me the most as the friendliest person that I've met, I think, was unquestionably Ted Cruz. I would say unquestionably Ted Cruz. Just when I met him, he had just an incredible warmth to him, and it's never gone away as far as I'm concerned. And so when I hear people say Ted's very cold and he's like a little reptilian and he's too cerebral, it's like I don't know who's doing his publicity or his campaign, but he is actually genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met. He really, really is. He's just he just comes to me anyway is exceedingly kind, and he's the kind of guy who listens to you. Like he's actually listening to you and not just because it's his job. So off the top of my head, I would say by far in the business, I would say Ted Cruz just rings a bell here. Let's see. I had a lot of fun with Greg Gutfeld. I wouldn't say that he's a particularly like warm or close guy, but we had a lot of laughs. I did 5 red eyes in the space of a couple of years back in the day, about 4 or 5 years ago. He was a lot of fun. Glenn Beck really, really surprised me too. I had a chance to introduce him 4 or 5 years ago, and I didn't know if he knew who I was. I was a big fan of his. I'm still a big fan of his. And we were in this relatively small room. I was going to introduce him. And I was thinking I'd go over and say hi to him and just introduce myself. And next thing I know, I'm at this table just scratching out some final notes. And I look down, he's kind of crouched next to me and just telling me, how much he had liked the work I did, and I had a really good introduction, a funny introduction, and then Glenn got up there and just we like needling each other. He just kept. I wasn't interrupting his speech. He just kept kind of throwing it back at me, and I'd throw it back up, and so that was just really fun. That was genuinely fun. One person who I met just 2 weeks ago, who really surprised me quite a lot, was Katie Hopkins. I was at an event where she was the keynote speaker, and for those of you who don't know, Katie Hopkins is a British kind of TV personality, and I have to tell you, Katie Hopkins is one of the funniest people I've ever encountered. She's just fast, really, really, really quick, and genuinely friendly and nice. Some people you can tell are really not into it. She was great at the event, but afterwards, a bunch of us went out for a little drink, and she's just quick and genuinely, genuinely funny. And not only that, she's she's one of those people that likes making provocative statements, and she does that. She does it well, and I consider that just to be a person who's not afraid to be in this fight. But I have to tell you, she struck me as an extremely kind person as well. I'm just kind of going down the list here. John Voight is without question one of the warmest people I've ever met. He's just a genuine, sincere guy. I'll get to the other ones. There's not many of the other ones. Let me think. Yeah, I think, if you have to really start scratching your head on it, then you probably run out of your first impulses. I'm going to call a very brief timeout. So for those of you who were fans of the show, you may want to mute the sound for maybe 30 or 40 seconds, because I don't want to say anything here that's going to destroy your opinion of me or anything like that. So for those of you who have sensitive stomachs, you might just turn down sound just for 20, 30 seconds. Here we go. I have to tell you, in all honesty, Andrew Klavan may be the best person I ever met. He's just an absolutely really good man. Okay, you can turn the sound back up again. Anyway, who's most deserving of a punch in the yapper? Definitely Andrew Klavan. What a where do you start? I mean, it's like on some level, it's like you're just on some level you don't even want to you don't even really kind of want to grace him, by putting him in the top 5. If he had some ability or some talent or something, then it would be, worth doing. But I guess he's most person that you would. I guess Andrew Klavan's the person who you're most likely to pass in a hallway and not notice. In terms of other people that could use a punch in the yapper, I honestly am having a hard time thinking of people who I thought really could use a punch in the yapper. I don't think I've met anybody really. You'd think I would have a few. Certainly no one I've ever worked with. No, I mean, there are people who are friendlier than others, and the ones I mentioned were standouts for me. Scott Ott goes without saying. When it comes for candidates for being punched in the yapper. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. Do I socialize with Klavan? I do not, and that's all kind of a mystery to me too. Those guys are just down the street there. Ben Shapiro and Jeremy and. And the gang. I'm just slow today for some reason, Mike Knowles. I can feel there's like sand in the gears. I never met Dick Durbin. No, I didn't. Now that actually reminds me. I can tell you I did sit next to Mitch McConnell, and that was not a particularly enthusiasm-filled event. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the roster. It really seems like there should be at least one or two people who I just want to say, God Almighty. Now, I can tell you two people who I'm not going to say deserve a punch in the apparatus. I don't want any mistaken identity about that. But I did meet two people that stand out in my head for being just like force of nature. We're talking about hurricanes a second ago. Being in the presence of two people who had that kind of, my God, it's like a human hurricane. Let me think here. I honest to God do not know what the heck is the matter with my brain today. I really don't. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe I'm going to have to search for this. It drives me nuts. I don't know what it is. I really don't. It's just, maybe it's just today, but today all day, it seems like that I have just been missing things. So hang on a second. I gotta look it up here. It's embarrassing. God, his face is right. I am just embarrassed because I know I'm really pretty well. I can tell you about the. Here we go. But, how could I have forgotten it? I'm really. It's just I haven't seen him in a while. One person who comes across very, very forcefully is Robert Davi, who I like very, very much. I like him very much. But we watched the 2008 election debates. We watched one of them at his house, believe it or not. And Robert Davi was there, and I'm not making this up. He had one of those enormous projection screens, but from the, mid-90s, the ones that are really deep and they've like rear projected kind of things. He had this gigantic, enormous thing, which was standard definition TV. It was just a huge one. And no fooling now. He had a black cane with a silver knob on the top. A black cane with a silver knob on the top, and he was screaming at Obama and just. I thought he was going to smash the TV set, and it was like we walk out of there and we're going to the car, and I think I went there with Jeremy Boring and went out, and I just said something else flying around behind me here, and I said, dude, we have just had the Robert Davi experience. It's like, yeah, that's right. And that we figured that would be an excellent name for an indie band, by the way, the Robert Davi experience. Robert Davi is Robert Davi. And by the way, Robert Davi is not only a great patriot, he's also an absolutely astonishing singer. I remember he was, I'm going to be doing my Sinatra. He doesn't do a Sinatra impersonation by any means. He just sings Sinatra songs. I think he sings them better than Sinatra does. He's shockingly good singer, really good, and I like him very much. Somebody mentioned Dwight Schultz. I haven't seen him in 4 or 5 years. Without question, one of my favorite people. Just absolutely great guy. Absolutely great guy. And the thing about Dwight is that Dwight, the top of Dwight's head will come off over things. And you begin to realize he's not faking it. He just gets so excited and angry about some things, he's supposed to be excited about and angry about things. So I just adore him. I just love him. I'd like to hire him every chance I get. I think Dwight's just a wonderful guy, very smart guy. Eric Blake wants to know about Kelsey Grammer. I've met Kelsey a few times. Kelsey is extremely polite and a very dignified guy, but my impression of Kelsey Grammer is that Kelsey Grammer doesn't share a lot of Kelsey Grammer with people who he doesn't know very well, and I respect that too. I really do. I don't want to say he's not a warm guy, but he's not a. He's he strikes me as a very private guy, and like I say, I kind of admire that. So there's that. The other person who was just kind of a lay low the second they walk in the room, and I'm not making this up because there's no way I can make this up, and that's Gene Simmons. I got a chance to direct Gene Simmons in a little video I wrote. Not that there was much direction, really. It was more of a narration than anything. But Gene Simmons comes in, and I'm not making this up. This is exactly precisely what happened. We were in the office, and Gene Simmons came in. We're going to go into this room and tape it, shoot it in front of a green screen. I'd never met him before. Jeremy introduced me to him, said I was the writer, and we're going to be recording this thing. And Gene Simmons, never seen him before, walks right up to me, shakes my hand firmly, looks me right in the eyes, and he says, "You are an exceptionally handsome man." You're going to do very well in prison. I liked him immediately. How do you not like that guy? How do you not like that? If that's not the greatest introduction, I've never. That's as good as it gets. Absolutely the best thing ever. And he's a great guy. So, but both of those guys, like, holy shit, Gene Simmons and Robert Davi together be more than a room can handle. Last thing I'll say on this one before we move on, I do remember having an enormous amount of satisfaction by making John Voight laugh so hard that he actually started to cry. Just, and it wasn't really that funny, I don't think. We were talking about actors, and we were talking about Wrath of Khan, and he had been on Bill Shatner's Raw Nerve, which I edited, and I edited him fairly, but that was the last show I did, and they re-edited the show because I made John look. I didn't make John look good. I didn't manipulate John as much as they would have liked, so they recut that show. But so we were talking about William Shatner, and I just remember saying, one thing I can tell you, John, thing about William Shatner is, you hire that guy, you're going to get your acting dollars worth. And he started laughing. He said, you for every $10 you pay Shatner, you get $13 a performance, or something along those lines. He was crying. He thought that was so funny. It's true. You get the role, then you get plus another 40% at no additional charge. He is not a nice man. He's just not. I've never heard anybody say anything nice about the guy, and I would join in that chorus. He's not at all a nice guy, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be. He's on my wall here in several different places. I'm not interested in so much the actor as I am the character, and that's a conversation for a different time. Okay, so moving on.